Test run in the Delica just to show you what it's like to drive it. It's about 65 degrees out right now, so fairly warm. Be running the AC a little bit so I'm not too hot in here, and we may have a little wind noise from that. Rear AC is turned off, and we'll just go for a quick spin around the block. So I have already driven it some today, but here, for example, let me start it up and show you what that's like. So started up pretty quickly. If this had been totally cold in the morning, or if it had been sitting longer, it might have taken 2 or 3 times as long to start, just holding the key on to start it. It always starts, but you know, that first startup can take longer than when you've been driving it frequently. If you can hear, there's a little reverse beeper. That's only inside the Delica. Nobody outside gets to hear that, but the driver is reminded that they are in reverse. We got a little clicking. It comes from the rear. That's the rear HVAC system. When it first starts up, it moves a blend door for a while. Then it'll shut off. It doesn't do that in warm weather for whatever reason. All right, now I'm getting a little warm up here. Air conditioner on. So 28 miles an hour on the little solar-powered GPS. The dash is, of course, in kilometers per hour, so this is nice. And the thing about driving a right-hand drive vehicle is your turn signals aren't over here, they're on the right. So I don't know how many times I go to make a left turn like that or a right turn, and I accidentally put on the wipers. So just something you got to train your hand to remember. Your right hand, when you're on the right side of the vehicle, is for your turn signals. And then you'll go back to a US vehicle and you'll be putting on the wipers back and forth. It happens to everybody, but one of those things about right-hand drive. Alright, so now coming up, I have to look over my passenger, which is a little different, especially if they're a passenger that likes to lean forward a lot. Now we're accelerating up, 45, 50, and cruising along about 55, which is the speed limit here. So it gets up and moves nicely. If I was on the interstate, it would go 75 or 80 on the interstate. It almost certainly would go faster, but I'm not going to admit to ever driving faster than that on a public video. Does have rear air conditioning. I can push rear. That'll turn on the rear AC. I can feel it coming out of the vents up here. I guess I would say it's rear air conditioning and rear heat, but I'm only running the air conditioning right now. A couple of buttons up on the dash. AT mode, you can't see, but it seems to do something with where the torque converter locks up and doesn't lock up. I'm not sure. I just leave it on one. There's an auto step. When you open the sliding door, there's a step that'll come out to help you get in. You can turn that on and off. And then we have our rear fog light switch, or I guess I would say rear reversing light switch. It'll come on with the reverse lights, or you can just turn it on up here if you need it. Over on the other side that you can't see is also a front side-facing fog light switch. Let's turn this way up for fun. There we go. Lots of air coming out. AC's blowing cold, although it's not a very hot day, but it does blow cold. It's got climate control, so you can turn up the temperature and I don't know, it'll adjust it or whatever. It's climate control. Overdrive on-off button on the end of the shifter. Alright. And that's 35, which is the speed limit here, and there's a cop that likes to sit at the top of this hill, so I'm not going to go any faster. Interstate, you know, it goes 75 pretty, you know, real nicely. It climbs hills really good. You know, the newer engines in this style of Delica, they don't have just a crazy amount of horsepower. I don't know what it is, you know, 115 or 120 horsepower. Don't quote me on that, Google it. But it's enough that it moves this thing pretty well, and, you know, including up in the mountains with the turbo. Android-based radio, but it's a radio, it does things. With a backup camera. Cup holders that will hold a small can, but otherwise aren't really useful. USB outlet down there, so we got USB-C, USB-A. There's an on-off button and a voltmeter on it, so it can be kind of handy for watching what your volts are. Little storage area, coin thing. Alright, well, there it was. There's a quick driving tour of the Delica. Runs, drives, it's real nice. Shifter back to park. Alrighty, thanks for watching. Have a nice day.